Gilg Jew, Gilg J as Gilg Nerach.
Sé Claare na Gael tar a chlásin cartnish, a sé ma hatne sé siúa se altacha. This is Robert Cutting Carswell, Robert a Carslach.
Have you ever had tell about Bobby Bob?
And I'm here to present this programme Claare na Gael in two languages, the English language as a Gaelic, and the Manx Gaelic, Chinian Amera, the mother tongue of Ellen Vanning, the Isle of Man. As Banach and Juruish, we've come to the final chapter in David Robertson's review of the Manx History, although it'll take us a little while to get through it. This was first published in 1794 as an adjunct to his description of a walking tour he'd made on a return trip to the island in the summer of 1791. He'd previously worked here as a revenue officer of the Crown, based in Douglas. To Jonathan Harker, bheidh ons Whitby as ons Lunning. Fedden mach McCown na jai kistigan as died ons lucht and Count Dracula. Renk Whitby vai varna, beda, as esh for courage gus Lunning an train, as esh Kurt mach gus Carfax, gus Doris Nebu tai Benrich and Lee John Seward. We begin with a song written by Robert Dwyer Joyce, born in Limerick in 1830, who was a medical doctor, a poet and a professor of English literature. It's sung by Irish band REALTA with MYLES McCORMACK and Cathy Jordan. It's The Wind That Shakes the Barley. Tashu Geisach Rish Radio Vanning, Stashu Nanashun, Viscoler Scalia Mach by Dúlish, Alan Vanning.
I sat within the valley green, I sat there with my true love. My fond heart strove to choose between me, old love and the new love. The old for her, the new that made me think on Ireland dearly, while soft the wind blew down the glen and shook the golden barley. Twas hard the mournful words to frame, to break the ties that bound us, yet harder still to bear the shame of foreign chains around us. And so I said the mountain glen I'll seek it morning early, and join the brave united men while soft wind shook the barley. When to my ears that fateful shot came out, the wildwood ringing, the bullet pierced my true love's heart in life's young spring so early, and there upon my breast she died while soft wind shook the barley. Stream and many's the summer blossom I placed with branches soft and green about her gore stem. and kissed her clay cold corpse and rushed o'er hill and valley, my vengeance on the foe to wreak, while soft wind shook the barley. I took out whole art hollow. I bless my true love's clay cold corpse, where mindful soon may follow. Now round her grave I hung her drear noon-night moon in early, with aching heart whene'er I hear the wind that shakes the barley. With aching heart whene'er hear the wind that shakes the barley.
Irish band REALTA with MYLES McCORMACK and Cathy Jordan there, and the song The Wind That Shakes the Barley from REALTA's new album Things of the Earth, which will be released this coming Tuesday, the 10th of October. And so, Chapter 6, General Observations of them on the Manx History and Constitution, Conclusion. The government of the Druids and of their descendants forms a happy and enlightened epoch in the Manx history. But after the subversion of that system, it presents an awful picture of anarchy and devastation. To gratify the ambition of some turbulent chieftain, hecatombs of his fellow creatures were frequently sacrificed, and after deluging the country with blood, perhaps the conqueror was scarcely seated on the throne when he was expelled by some warrior more barbarous than himself, while his unoffending subjects were again overwhelmed in all the horrors of war. The people, being thus generally the slaves of every new conqueror, the divine flame of liberty no longer warmed their bosoms. Oppression soon obliterated all sense of their native dignity. With their own minds they seldom conversed, and were consequently unacquainted with the vigour of intellect or the fire of genius. Thanks, David. Was sure by your lie, Jonathan Harker. Je unchush taminish jint bwyach. Draw uliw na kistigan rank Whitby by Barna boord en Demeter corrit de sautjes sa chan chabal ons Carfax. Lizach jai as dai jau ve on shen, be de belferer bi jau by skuchit mach asgi, maar by giaull fairly Seward te aal Nim gebe de chorschilier Charter en Gael na kistigan by Carfax tre Renfield sayagaru. Your shirra tulliu bentend en lead shaw, fuddy the gin much insacha muran. Na san me. Ta Mina is mish en navrige fine lie, as tashin na chorolju na peberen on so dreles. Your lad Mina Harker, and giaull is feed main fower. Ta micha manra scone ta fisse mer frail die arm peen. Sheen airtis ta mi sheen, by an aal v tege on him. De jinnach a chush atchimach shaws, osle chan lottegge, Jinnu the Hulk Jonathan. Now this is a traditional Welsh song, Merch ai Mam, her mother's daughter, and it's sung by Sian James.
Merch ai Mam, I've masi neges, tiddle-a-dee-da, a ryw dipyn bach o fusnes, tiddle-o-dee-do a tiddle-a-dee-da. Marcho mas o dre Caerfyrddin, tiddle-a-dee-da, a chwrddiw nes ag armyr brenin, tiddle-o-dee-do a tiddle-a-dee-da. Treifian Ffrainc oedd yn on y rhancio, tiddle-a-dee-da, a chapten Landers yn eiladio, tiddle-a-dee-do a tiddle-a-dee-da. Capten Landers gofyn seifi, tiddle-a-dee-da, fy merch o bler I chi'n trafeili, tiddle-o-dee-do a tiddle-a-dee-da. Dowch I mi gysan mewn comisiwn, Diddle-a-dee-da, an siŵr ma mas o'r ffasiwn. Diddle-a-dee-do, a diddle-a-dee-da. Wel, ffarwel, rwy ti yn lodes. Diddle-a-dee-da, a chenita fod per hen lankes. Diddle-a-dee-do, a diddle-a-dee-da. Wel, ffarwel, fwy tithair y Cymro. Diddle-a-dee-da, hawdd gallu gwrdd at y sorti eto. Diddle-a-dee-do, a diddle-a-dee-da.
Sian James and a Welsh lullaby, her mother's daughter, Merch a'i mam. Honnig mi a fe Gael de Golgus Whitby as an addendum gedunnel as dod mi. Ach, van mi ching les droch ouders. Ach, den ebne jaie chorfos de. Herawe riw gesait, riw geledje, riw gelend of riemar volcano as te egetreit on. Te kaart maar doort an allu van Helsing mien maishen. Te jean de girach as te sherige vol fres jinnach cormau aignius anuna. Henke bak raier lend of jois as de grijs as de gereil sait. Ta de chulju rid we courage ons zo drele zijn son een nog. Ta mi heen gennach dan kai de loer les griesige. Ta mi shielten de ljesig sly gold chimmer je fair schelge just een gaunt. Shaw krine kush, genellen rid shaw de njoil, gene eer beeste. Ons lai kunte fairly Seward best Lucy wach as nur en gaarte sen, shen de loer de girmige en de verreinende gimme ons krie peger be. Their mind was a chaos, says David Robertson, and, like the wild beasts of the forest, they were only gratified when their corporeal wants were supplied or their coarse desires satiated. Amid such barbarous anarchy, few traces of legislation could be discovered in this island. In the 10th century, a feeble dawn of constitutional light appeared. 24 persons were appointed by King Orry. And a footnote tells us here that 16 were appointed for man and 8 for the residue of the Kingdom of the Isles. And so 24 persons were appointed by King Orry under pretence of assisting his deliberations for the public weal, but more probably to reconcile the natives to his assumption of the government by giving the sanction of popularity to his proceedings. Under the reign of their Danish and Norwegian princes, this island, though less subject to the devastation of foreign plunderers, was frequently lacerated by the contests of domestic oppressors. And that's Jim MacLeod and his band. Jim MacLeod from Dunblane he was, Dunblane near Stirling, and perhaps, unusually, at least it seems to be, he led his band from the piano rather than from the accordion. The majority of them it seems to me, to lead their bands from the accordion.
The Nation Station, Manx Radio.
Stasiwn yn asiwn ta radio fanning as yn sio ta siw geisiach rys Claare na Gael. Se Robert gytyn carsol, mis Robert y carslach ma da.
Did the ever hear tell of old Bobby Bob?
Gyrwys imedy Claare yn radio fanning elia ta Claare na Gael reclaas yn rys siacht yn lwg jigol ar sgelia mach yn chyd chyr sio unedega radio fanning trwy den chraman agart. De Claare na Gael maast yn chidendoer en de podcasten jes vissergeden nasty unedega radio vanning na trwy den reichjere de podcast jou, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Audible, Spotify, Google Podcasts, TuneIn na Alexa. After this early oppression things improved, says Robertson. The succession of their kings, however, became more regular. The martial ardour of the people increased, and some portion of freedom and tranquillity began to be established among them. But even the scanty blessings they had now obtained were soon destroyed by the tyranny of their Scottish conquerors, who extinguished every spark of warlike genius among the Manx, banished the few virtues they possessed, and reduced them to a race of miserable slaves. However, a more fortunate era at length arrived, and with this dawn of freedom, the happiness of the people begin to revive. Can you guess who's about to come in now then, eh? By the English conquest, says Robertson, their oppression was diminished, and by the accession of the House of Stanley, the prerogative of their kings was defined and published. The severity of the feudal system, at this period so intolerant in the surrounding nations, was, from various causes, greatly mitigated in this kingdom. Na Sanmi. Renk en charn godalming as meisje Morris na smogen a vishin jerkelrish. Van Fairly Seward moei de Juliana Eilkin as ve chorlesh Jonathan Marish, maar so ve arms vagen had. Dus ve kweltes vierdag woon. Fair renne corlesh back uljene tresh jelen weg Lucy wach wien, ach min rij de henne. Son shiglis voor de glaasjen Lucy Lord mumachjons, as de jeen de rauwen Fairly van Helsing nis. Gael a ren moili mumachjons, moren meisje Morris chiter. Deinje baach de mortad, genel ver bij jou tiggel, de wel vissem de sledden ne jierien refusevich in Dr. Lucy. Gerouwd de bollach shigger ne de grey na de jinno. No rauw visser bij ook thuis de hustje te hem. Maar zo drouwe aru chit ridden jou goeshach. Ach, smunny me as voor breunes jintem, de bergen ritje oddens jinno, bergen de gor vis no duimig on cushion, kaart gussen date shaw. Now this is a Breton song about witchcraft. The Lord of Fernturn bought a beautiful blue dress for his heiress daughter, only to be told she'd made a wax child, a wax effigy of him, to do away with him. So this is Andrea Agouille.
Na marcargil André guérise, à la chueza close d'oro willis, na vige keter bugel quar, bid badizet escud à loire. Arvagires a hulene, eus nou troepen funtenende, merdes greter bugel quar, vito casa di waronduar. Roid va me al juez dar gwal de odu al chwez an nach im mustored nen am muskit al chwez e be an outre pen funter punared en ur fuchal azo kroget an nach kerken azo drahaliet ar bugel kwar azo kamed nautrupen funt en allare de beneres ne beut boude di schule boude en offeren bred ma veneres oui volos Quar ar veneres ar vaironag ar vairones o fevares in medlosked diragonol popnas du med on outro cosa huelesten agazi from Ivleogwen o velet iver poleski panen doa bugel ne meti
Bugel Cor, the wax child, is literally, but the wax figurine. Not only is the daughter burned at the stake for witchcraft, along with the wax figure she'd made, but her godfather and godmother too, so pretty brutal reprisals by the Lord of Penfernturn in that song from Brittany, sung by André Argouil. Tafissem vai Gilen and Nerli Seward, the Rawad and Shen, eg bes Lucy, a bes Firniach eg. As na rau fem goil al je bra foliach derby rosh and tre. Ma saw dinch me dow, Mayas dod me, de rau me liai ullion a pebern as na gilenen. As de rau dun je sheshe hem, as mish, ren clew skriwad, kaart chorkion corons and dreilesad. Hug me kop de kach, de liai sel joran. Trahuren charn godalming a kop begge, as Hyndea, Harish, teijin sus bart moor de lure, doorte, Renshu klauskriw shawl you when I shall Harker? Ren me snuggle as high air. Genel me de bollach vagen en acht en skiel gol, ach, de shuish ulju gemai as kinjel, as ta shu every gabrige hudjinach so brioil, na wadamach saige je na ayen jou gin tort, as kore berkoenel you. Te onlesoener wij hanna, ons saige je neen lizer kor erdunje wij imli, gus oers jerrie wij. Being now subject to the government of a subordinate prince, that's to say the king, later lord of Man, subordinate to the British crown, English crown at that time, military servitude was seldom demanded, and the rigour of civil vassalage was softened, sometimes by the generosity, but more frequently by the absence of the feudal lord, who usually resided in England. The rigour of their lieutenants and the tyranny of the clergy sometimes affected the people. Yet over both they at length triumphed, obtaining for themselves and posterity an acknowledgment and declaration of their rights and privileges. The constitution of the country at this period consisted of two branches, the reigning prince and the 24 keys, who were generally deemed the representatives of the people. The monarchs of England claimed the sovereignty of the Isle as lords paramount, but they didn't interfere in the government of the kingdom, which was executed in the name of the subordinate prince by his lieutenant and officers. Well, they were from the northwest of England. Let's go northwest with MacCrea now.
And fear for 100,000 years, but you brought that to an end, and I learned to love again. Pull on your coat and pack up your sailing boat. The wind will blow you home. Your heart will do the rest. I will never let you feel alone. Come and sail away with me, somewhere only we can see. I just need you to be close, homesick for a path we never chose. Pull on your coat and pack up your sailing boat. The wind will blow you home. Head north, northwest, and your heart will do the rest. I will never let you feel until you're new. I can wake up next to you. Pull on your coat and pack up your sailing boat. The wind will blow you home. Head north, northwest, and your heart will do the rest. I will never let you feel alone.
MacCrea from his album The Leeward Tide, that was north-northwest. In a lengthy footnote here, Robertson tells us that the lieutenant was the representative of majesty. A staff which he held upright in his hand was the ensign of his authority, and the oath administered to him on his appointment was to do justice between the Lord and his people as upright as the staff now standeth. His principal officers were the Receiver General, the Controller or Clerk of the Rolls, the Water Bailiff and the Attorney General. These, with the Bishop, the Archdeacon and the two Vicars General, formed the Lord's Common Council. But his Privy Councillors were the two Deemsters, who were revered as the oracles of justice and the judges of the nation. When appointed to the air of judgment, they swore to do justice between man and man as equally as the herringbone lies between the two sides. The decision by jury, however, guarded the lives and properties of individuals. Well, we'll be returning to the text anon. Mer is shen te fissem der au graie malusi wach, on shaw hinde soul is renny kudige en edineg a lesje lauwen, dat me klaasjen de jair se gereige. Charen manche Morris, leis kiel dai, ach cora laur is shalid a gielen, as eis hule de cune as een chamber. Tammy shielden de wel riddenach ons duches mrai, wis ginu ser, dan je de frische schies, as de huisje gemaakt na enjacht den egge, een chau wei, de hoogdag gin smunjen, de wel is skelje dacht en firinne egge. Son 3 huren charen god alming de rauw in de lummerken merim, haie schies een eisjach, as renne ligge leis de bollach, as de faarslich. Hai bi schies ljorisch, as gauw me je lau. Dan bi 3 stel na rauw is smunjen de rauw mi ro dene, as me wisse smunjen arach na saan mi, na bi den ai egge. On shen tam mi gino a gerde, ta fissem na gine arach, te na wun je ser ro ona. And as Bagas and Ool, playing Mary Kellinach's polka. Merv Davy found a faint imprint of that tune on the inside of a Cornish music book, but a manuscript copy later turned up in an Australian archive collection.
The Nation Station, Manx Radio.
Siordiw stasiwn na nasiwn radio fanning na si Claare na Gael ys y Claas yn Carnish, mer yn pyn Robert Cutting Carswell, Robert y Carslach.
Have you heard tell of old Bobby Bob?
Dwrt mi rish, son dod mi fag yn draw a chri brisha. Fy graem mer Lucy Veen, as te fissem mer na fy ish diw, as na ma siw ish gi. Fy ish as mish gor ish siwren, as nish ti ar sŵl. Nach gin siw ligge daw fe gor ish siwr diwish, onze vore jou. Gael leis laliams de ginem liaimach janrish, as nish ti ar sŵl, nach gin siw ligge daw fe gor ish siwr diwish, onze vore jou. Ta fisse merne siechen ter wei jou, gerne wat tauxe dunet jou. Me beseble de gerish as chimme, de groenel jou, de groen onze argus jou, nach gin siw ligge daw coolina bekken de hirweist jou, son graai Lucy. Ons tollach van dunje bacht mien na gilge herrish les siechen. Ve jean daw der en ulju ve surre lere gerrig, ons taastig, kast na maag aas eg een ontrei. Henk de ve rautacht ach de loer, as troggel soes na lauwen schientegge, renne boelen na badenegge naie geili ons sledden aan geist de grauw. Jeni mi erish gin jerre han, as doshel mi maraichen gin tort. Les saag, renne korregion na lai gielen, as renne ko grish peetje toelit, gouds ver krauw les an wei tachtach. Now, Robertson's text is referring to the king or lord of man as a subordinate prince, that's to say subordinate to the English monarch, but Robertson has then mentioned that the subordinate prince's government was executed in his name by his lieutenant and officers. However, he also says, the lieutenant was the representative of majesty, and says, his power was ample. By his prerogative he coined monies, punished or pardoned civil delinquents, delivered from the sentence of the spiritual court those who appealed to his clemency, summoned a Tynwald, or convention of the people, as it suited his interest or pleasure. So he's obviously talking about the powers, the delegated powers of the king or lord of man here, and the bit about the coining of monies is one that leads to another footnote here of Robertson's, which we'll have a look at next. Now, we've heard Irish group Emmett Spiceland before now in Claare Gael, with two sides of a single they'd recorded for the Gael Ling label in 1968. Well, they went on to make another single for Gael Ling in 1969, and from this, I hope this is Allum Punch. This is Emmett Spiceland.
Allum Punch is allum tes and ideation, allum toddy. I vi mer meshka kursa re pagasen dervis and te the cappy. La me vim la hita tre, vilani egleg na gunny. La the penis a rish gun brain, pagasen derkis and te the cappy. Allum Punch is allum tes and ideation, allum toddy. I vi mer meshka kursa re pagasen dervis and te the cappy. Ma hiet in the lier fred and we se face ne vegiani was shakil is rinner way but I'm let dirty well the mukari all them punches all them tes and radiation all them toddy TV mer meshka kursa re ras and nervous and te the cappy sav the vimem lila gren gan since a selak skleep is tired han gan isak me intenser farin punches all them tes and ideation all them toddy. I vi mer meshka kursa re pagasen dervis and te the cappy. All them punches all them tes and ideation all them toddy. I vi mer meshka kursa re pagasen dervis and te the cappy. All them punches all them tes and ideation all them toddy. I vi mer meshka kursa re
And that's Emmett Spiceland, including Donald Lunny, who arranged that song Allum Punch. Allum Punch is allum tea. I'll drink punch and I'll drink tea, and tomorrow I'll be drinking a toddy. It also featured Martin Fay on fiddle and Dennis Mowat on bass. Well, let's look at David Robertson's footnote about coinage now. It's losing his place immediately. That's good, isn't it? Anyway, let's try again. This coinage, he says, was copper pence and halfpence, with the same impression and inscription. On one side were the crest and motto of the Derby family, and on the reverse the arms of the island, with this inscription, Quocunque Ieceris stabit. Well, since the Latin motto is mentioned here, it's perhaps worth mentioning that, despite what you might see elsewhere, sometimes it actually translates as wheresoever you may throw, it will stand. That's what it literally means. Anyway, back to the footnote. In 1736, a new coinage of pence and halfpence, peculiar to the island, was struck at the Tower, with the impression of His Majesty's head, in lieu of the crest and motto of the House of Derby. Manx money is inferior to sterling, an English shilling being equivalent to 14 pence of that currency. And in fact that led to difficulties. Manx coinage was taken out of the island and used as sterling coinage, leaving too little coinage in circulation for local trade. On dingen ymren, ta riddenach Jane Voir, vis cororin iri erskin cushion slew, treta spirit na mera. Deini mi cion na dunye moor trai shaw na lai orm, mor de beche shen je baban for die leeniach liai ma ochrish. As rem mi struge voltegger, mor de beche a peche empien. Rem mi smunien ege trai shen kreeg o chweech as wolju na nien shaw. Lur tamelt henk kion na sachen ege, as jiria hiem lesh leschel. Gerne renne vollige chorerbi na enjacht en ege. Dintje dau, rish na leen as na een tengel sha, leen denach as eigen gen kadle, nach dodde lort is pecher bi, morta femer dan je lort on stree trimshege. Gerau ben bion, as oddig en de rieshek guller corde, na riesh kunt steed aglach van a lai ulje magiet de grimsje, oddig lort de ser. Now, well, Gareth Bonello performs under the name The Gentle Good, but despite the English name, he actually writes and sings songs in Welsh. And this is a traditional song, though, Pan on I Arfore Ddydd.
Rodio glasgoedir am calon fach yn brif. Llais mwy alchen bibig felen a gliwn mor byr ei hawen a'n tiwnio ar gangen y gwydd. Wrth i mi Sanno a'i chlywed yn pyncio mewn serch y bu mi'n syrffio pe bawn yn dweud yn rhydd fy nghalon bach a hedodd am serch i gyd a dynodd a'n dirion ar doriad y dydd.
The Gentle Good, Gareth Bonello, and a traditional Welsh song, Panoni Arfore Ddydd, from his album Galargan. It was published a month ago today, on the 8th of September. Ta fissem nish chwishren mi surrans, dwrde, chawsren I tirmach yn y sŵlinega. A chanel fissem i'r ffos, a chynod arach fissem e pech yr beelia, chwish daw, as van a rish millished Jew. Be fisher sy tre'r a hit, as creed me gen a vel me now whistle nish, the gin ma whees gas leis a tiglis em. Now, Robertson's footnote about coinage here concludes, the ensign armorial of the island are 3 legs, bended at the knees and girt in armour. Well, there's more from David Robertson's review of the Manx history as we draw towards the end, though we won't actually reach the finale next time. As ma saw, ta sin a jitgus jera Claire-ish. Well, Chris Pearson will be here with the best of chill-out music for your Sunday evening from 7 till 9, and then at 9, Judith Leigh will be here with Sundown. We close Claare and Gael this time with music by Scottish band from the Isle of Skye, the Peatbog Fairies, from their album I See a World, which was released 2 months ago today on the 8th of August, and this is the track The Jester, featuring the voices of Heather Michael and Gina Ray. Well, Cartnish, Chanel Vegelia, ach, the Grey. Until the next time then, this is Robert Cutting Carswell, Robert a Carslach.
Old Bobby Bob.
Wishing you a very good night. Eve, I'm a Chrieriu, as Orterlier, as my Yeri and Shed you will you.